everyone. Welcome to our peak season masterclass. I'm Petra, and here's Sabine and Dana from Parcel Perform. Hi, Dana. Hi, Sabine.
Hi, Petra,
Hello.
and hi, everyone. You can probably hear it already. Unfortunately, I have a cold, not COVID, but just a standard cold. So I won't be able to do the masterclass today. But luckily, we have Sabina who will be taking over for me. So thank you very much, Sabina. I'm over to you on behalf of Parcel Perform.
Thank you, Dana. Yes, unfortunately, it's also peak season for all kinds of bacteria and viruses. So, Dana, we're wishing you a speedy recovery. Yes, I'm Sabine. I'm the head of marketing of Parcel Perform, and I'm very happy to do the masterclass today with Petra. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. And a quick note at the beginning, if you have any questions, you can put them into the little questions box there on the bottom. You can post them anytime. And at the end of the webinar, we do have a Q&A section where me and Petra, we will answer all your questions. So yeah, Petra, how are you doing today? Are you fine?
I'm good, thank you. And fortunately, the cold has not reached me. Hopefully, I can keep it away. So I'm in sunny Vienna today. It's actually pretty warm and I think around 20 degrees here. So yeah, happy to be on the call here today. Sabine, where are you located?
I am actually in supposedly very sunny Singapore, but today feels like autumn. So something is wrong here with the seasons. We do have it rainy and relatively cold. But when I say relatively cold, it's still like 26 degrees. But yeah, it's great to have this chat across the globe and to talk about peak season, because this is certainly a topic that all our customers are concerned with wherever they are in the world. So we do have Vienna today and Singapore.
Perfect. Yeah, rain.
Would be nice for everyone who's joining. Oh, sorry. It would be nice if whoever's on the webinar would just paste in the chat where you come from and is it rainy or sunny?
Cool. Perfect. Then I would say maybe let's get started, right, Sabine? So maybe I'll start it off with a quick poll, because as you know, it's a collaborative webinar between Byrd and Parcel Perform. So we split it up into two parts. I will be starting off more with the operational logistics part, and then Sabine will dive more into the post-purchase customer experience. But to kick it off on the logistics side, we would like to ask you to understand a bit better, who you are, what you're interested in, whether you use in-house or outsourced fulfillment, because that is also obviously a deciding factor in how you set up your peak fulfillment and what's important for you. So it would be great if you could submit your vote so that we see a little bit who we have in the group today and what's relevant for you. So I'll give you maybe a couple more moments to vote, and then we can see what the results are. I think the votes are coming in. It's funny because we often ask this question during webinars, and it's often a good mix. So I think it still shows that there are retailers who outsource it, there are retailers who do it in-house, and I think there's no single solution that works for everybody. But I think now that the votes are coming in, actually we have the vast majority who's using outsourced fulfillment in this group today. So that's good to keep in mind. We will have a couple of more votes for you coming up, but maybe I'll just kick it off now with the logistics part. On the next slide, basically we have, I think, the major 4 topics that we see as e-commerce fulfillment providers, that are really, really relevant for retailers to keep in mind, to really ensure that peak season is kicked off with really high quality operations, and that translates obviously into exceptional customer experience. So there are 4 points that we have structured this into. I will just briefly explain the 4 of them now, and then we'll go into more detail into each one of them. But generally, it's mostly around inventory accuracy, right? So knowing what you have in stock and which products are available. Then also obviously in the warehouse itself, making sure that the workforce planning is up to date, that you know what the forecasts are, and that you have the right resources in place. Then more on the already delivery part, you know, making sure that the delivery quality is right, and that you're using also the right services, and that the end consumer is aware of where the delivery is. And then, of course, the last part, smooth returns. It's kind of always a painful topic for retailers, right? Because returns are, tend to be costly, but at the same time, kind of managing this in the right way can also move the customer experience from good to great. And I think that's also the message around this whole webinar today, I think, is that peak season is super stressful, and obviously there's a lot of challenges around it, but ideally it's also the time when you generate a lot of new customers, right? And then over time turn them into returning customers, right? So it's a really, really great time to excel at what you're doing, to give them the best possible customer experience, and to turn them into returning customers that ideally come back a long time after they bought from you the first time during peak season. So let's dive into it. Inventory accuracy. So there are a couple of points in terms of inventory accuracy that are relevant. I think the first one, if we look into it, basically there is the fact that we need to know where what kind of inventory we have in stock, right? So doing inventory counts before you kick off peak season is super, super important, because the worst thing that can happen is that you get your orders in, but you don't have the right inventory count, and you might be out of stock where a customer already bought the product and is expecting it from you. So what we do at Byrd is really before peak season, we make sure that we do our inventory counts to make sure that what we have in the system corresponds with what is actually available in the warehouse. And that way we can always make sure that, we never run out of stock because of unexpected changes in inventory. The second point is more on the planning of the basically the fast selling movers, and basically which SKUs are going to sell out in which kind of way, right? So you have maybe an ABC analysis where you know which products are fast moving. There's of course also some seasonal aspects to keep in mind, right? You maybe already have historical data from the previous year, so that you can set up a really, really good forecast for the upcoming peak season and expect which products are going to sell out faster and which ones slower. This is obviously also really important, so that you don't stock up on the wrong products maybe, and then are out of stock for these, but you have other products in stock which are lying around basically and not being sold. This is the inventory accuracy part. Then maybe just to show you a little bit how it looks in practice. This is just a view from our dashboard at Byrd, where you can track these things. So we know that being aware of the inventory and also always having real-time information is super, super important for you as a retailer. So what we also see as an important part of the planning for the inventory accuracy is that you also plan the deliveries really well in advance, right? You have to make sure that whatever kind of delays are in your supply chain, and unfortunately this is a very relevant topic right now, there's a lot of delays in supply chains worldwide happening, unfortunately. So it is really important that you plan those things in advance, that you have this forecast that we mentioned before, you have what's in stock right now, but that also any future deliveries that will come in during peak seasons are really planned ahead, so that you know when products are going to come in. And also either you yourself, if you're doing the fulfillment yourself, or your fulfillment partner is aware of this. And to be able to do that, you really, we highly, highly recommend, of course, to have real-time data. So inventory syncs shouldn't be something that happens, ad hoc, but it should be something that continuously is working through connected systems to enable stock out, to make sure that there are no stock outs, and that all the parties involved, be it you or the fulfillment partner, always have real-time data, because that is obviously the key to having the right products in stock and being also having them the right inventory levels in your online store. So moving on to the second point, which is more focused on the actual work in the warehouse, right? Once the inventory is there, the deliveries are there, and then peak season actually comes up and you have to pick and pack your orders. So what do we need to take care of and keep in mind for this peak season? If you're doing the fulfillment yourself, an important element is, of course, the tech and hardware setup, right? So not to be underestimated that if you suddenly have a huge peak in orders, you also make sure that, for example, picking phones or other devices like scales for the packages, things like that you need to pick and pack the orders are there, and you have the right amount, and you don't basically run out of hardware. Because this is a huge problem, right? Sometimes people just think about the workforce and making sure that they have enough people in the warehouse, but we have seen in the past that what happens also is that you need a massive amount of equipment and hardware as well to make sure that your orders go out on time. Second part, as I mentioned, right, workforce planning. So these are the two main elements, right? Without the workforce, you can have all the picking phones you want. If you don't have the right people there to package the parcels, then you have a problem, obviously. If you are doing working with a fulfillment partner, of course, you don't have to worry about that, right? So then the alternative to that is make sure that you share all the forecasts that you have with your 3PL partner so that they can manage those two elements, right? So somebody has to manage it, be it you internally or the 3PL partner. But it's really, really an important part of the planning process to make sure that all the parties are aligned and know what's coming up for peak season, so that everything is in place to ensure smooth fulfillment. And then the third point that we have here is basically the packaging material, also something that's easily kind of forgotten, obviously, but this is sometimes happening when, again, you have a kind of an unexpected peak, and then you were focusing so much on your product that you forgot you also have to have the right packaging material in store. And again, it's really about optimizing the customer experience. So of course, if you run out of the ideal packaging box that you have, the branded one that has like the best customer experience, you can still use alternative boxes, but it's not gonna generate this ideal customer experience that we want to achieve, right? So make sure that you also keep these little things in the background in mind. And this is another screenshot kind of our dashboard of how it looks. If we, basically we have kind of an option to also not track only inventory, but also the packaging material in the warehouse, because we know that this is, it's part of the whole experience. Many of our customers use branded packaging material where you already see the brand on the box. We also often add things like flyers to the boxes because that is obviously the one interaction that your customer has with your brand. So this is where you really should ideally get the most out of it and try to optimize how the customer perceives your brand. Then the third part, which is service and delivery quality. So I think it's important to look at this from both a service level in the warehouse point of view, but then also the customer experience when they get the delivery. And what is very, very important here, and we see this actually as one of the most important points, is that the delivery arrives at the customer's address, obviously, right? And there are a lot of challenges, unfortunately, with addresses being wrong, be it because the customer made a mistake or, they use some kind of auto-fulfill function and the address is pasted in the wrong way into your checkout page. So actually, it's funny. It seems like a very small topic, but we often hear this from online retailers that it's very challenging for them to manage this, especially because addresses are so different worldwide, right? You cannot just say, well, let's say the zip code is missing. I mean, some countries don't have zip codes, right? So you have to really use really smart systems that can double check these addresses and make sure that you're not sending parcels to the wrong address. I think Sabine will go into that in a bit more detail, right? Like the customer experience after they have bought from you. But I think this is the one part that can really destroy kind of the customer's perception of your brand. If they're expecting a parcel, they see it's been sent out, and then because of some small detail in the address, it cannot be delivered. So this is what we actually, for example, at Byrd, we have kind of an automated address validation also in the system that enables us to double check all the addresses that are submitted. And it's really proving to decrease the number of returns for our clients. I think around 40% of returns were decreased for the clients that have activated this in the past. The second part is the kind of what happens in the warehouse, right? So if you have a peak, again, I mentioned it before a little bit, but communication with the warehouse is key. So if you want to have a good experience for the client, also in terms of how fast is the order picked and packed, of course, the warehouse needs to be aware of the fact that there's going to be a peak coming up. So especially during peak seasons, we would really recommend not to just have a very high level monthly forecast, but ideally really on a daily level, right? Are you planning, for example, for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, right? Which days are you planning to launch your marketing campaigns? If the warehouse knows that, then they can really plan their workforce ideally, maybe add on some extra shifts on those days. So really, this is where details matter, and they make the end consumer's experience much better if you're being very proactive and transparent about this. Then I think we have one last kind of how to say, kind of what is the key takeaway, right? This all I think is aimed at improving service quality and customer satisfaction. So going back to what I said before, these are all things that at the end of the day shape the way how the end consumer perceives you. So ideally, you can optimize on all of these different things to make the customer experience really good and turn them into returning clients. Just to maybe move to the next slide and show you some examples basically on how to also not just kind of meet the customer's expectations, but how maybe to exceed them. This is what I just mentioned now, right? Like I think it's all about ensuring the kind of best customer experience for the client. They're not here ideally just for the one order that they ordered, but they're gonna come back if you manage this first interaction really well. So I think this is key. And then some examples that we see how we can actually exceed their expectations. So there's options like express shipping or sustainable shipping options that customers really like to see. So try to understand really how what's important for a client, and then try to exceed on those kind of levels. So we can, I think. Sorry, my connection is a little bit slow, so whenever something new comes up, I have to wait a few seconds. But so the one thing is, for example, express shipping, where we see that clients are, especially during peak seasons, this can be a really huge selling point to not only allow them to buy from you in a standard way, but they might be also willing even to pay extra to get this service from you. But it could be something that differentiates you from the competition. The last point on this slide, I think I mentioned this just before, is the sustainability, or climate neutral shipping. So we also see more and more this is becoming a very big point in customers' minds. So again, these are just some examples, right? It doesn't have to be exactly those points, but I think the one part is how to cover the basics that a customer expects, and then the second part is how to exceed the expectations, and these are some examples. And I think on the next slide, we also have some examples from our clients on how they actually exceed customer expectations in their checkout. So just to give you an idea, especially during peak seasons, things like express shipping, as I mentioned before, can be something that really, differentiate you from the competition, because they just enable the customer to buy from you, whereas because they might be needing the order very quickly. So this is just to illustrate a little bit that the more options the customer has, the better ideally for the customer experience. And then coming to the last point, returns. Don't want to spend too much time. I know it's a painful topic for retailers, but we have some stats here that show basically that returns, are something that customers really, that also influences the customer experience. So 84% of UK online shoppers are saying they wouldn't buy from a retailer again after a bad returns experience. It is a challenge, right? Because as an online shop, you don't want to make it too easy and kind of push returns because they're a cost driver. But at the same time, it is something that customers keep in mind in their buying decision. And there's a second stat that we have, which is basically according to 2022 data, there were 60 million returns in the last season, handled only by UPS alone, right? So it is a huge amount of parcels that is being shipped back. So it is not to be underestimated that you also need to find ways to handle this well, right? So returns are here. You can try to kind of minimize them to minimize the impact on your margins. But at the same time, if you have returns, I think our message is try to make them as automated and as smooth as possible. And that's what we will see on the next slide. So basically, returns are really basically something that we think should be automated from a point of view of warehouse handling, but also the interaction between you and the end customer. So here you can just see an example of how the returns look in our dashboard. We have kind of a returns portal that you can customize in your own branding, and where you can enable the end customer to really submit their own return, to generate their own returns label. So I think we have two more points here that also show that automation is key. So we need to make sure that when there is a return, ideally your team doesn't spend time on it. Your customer support team, especially during peak season, is super busy with so many other things that are really key. So having them manage kind of or generate returns labels manually is not the best use of the time. So message here, really try to automate this. Can be the returns portal looking like this. There are other solutions out there as well, right? But ideally try not to make this something where your customer support team needs to invest a lot of time. And then there's a couple of more tips that we have here. What we would recommend basically retailers to check before they go into peak season is really to double check what the returns policy is. Again, it's something painful, but clients or end customers do check the returns policies and make their decisions based on this. So make sure that the policy is something that is a good balance between you being able to manage it from a kind of margin perspective, but also that the customer feels like they have the option to return things if needed. Ideally extend the returns period. That way you can also balance the workload in the warehouse a bit better if returns don't come up within a couple of days immediately after orders were shipped. Try to get full visibility on incoming returns. Ideally, if you use some kind of portal, you have the data available to know that there will be something coming back. Ideally, you can also track things like returns reasons to optimize your products in the future. So if you automate the whole process, it is kind of an investment into also getting better data on returns reasons, and then ideally improving the products and your overall customer experience in the future based on this feedback. I think this is it from my side. I think, Sabine, this is already your poll, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm just going to hand over right to you.
Yes. Thank you, Petra. There were a lot of takeaways already. Also in terms of the post-purchase experience, but I'm going to talk a little more about that after the poll. So please click on the poll right now. I'm having a bit of trouble of accessing myself. the screens. So our question is, what are your goals for this peak season? Just in general, you can choose multiple options. Do you want to maximize your sales volume? I guess, of course, you will be. Do you want to focus more on the smooth post-purchase operations, everything that Petra said? Do you want to achieve the best ROI possible on the customer acquisition costs that you've driven, all the ads and everything that you've done for peak season now? You want to save costs on logistics. It's a big topic for our clients, most of our clients, especially in the light of the rising logistics costs, or all of the above. Please vote. Gonna have a look at the results soon. Okay, so what I already see that best ROI on customer acquisition costs is running pretty high in the results, followed by same spot as maximize sales volume, smooth operations, all of the above. Saving costs, yeah, I guess you all want to do that, but I should have specified logistics costs or customer service costs. Okay, so let's have a look how we can help you there from Parcel Perform. What happens during peak season with your customer? We all have a very business view on our topics. We want to achieve all these goals that are asked in the poll right now, but how do our customers see that? The customer, and actually I'm in the same boat. When I'm clicking on the order button, I'm the next one standing there. Okay, when is it there? When can I get my parcel? When can I open it? Like this dog sitting by the window and waiting. Anticipation is really high. At the same time, you can see a little bit of anxiety in the eyes of this dog. And I think this is the same thing that happens to your customers. They're not sure if they can trust your business, and everything that happens in peak season, especially in peak season, is very sensitive, right? So if you disappoint them on this journey, and this is the journey till the end until they have their parcel in their hand, they might not come back. Probably will not come back. Let's look at a few stats. So 53% of shoppers say that the post-purchase experience is the most emotional part of their shopping journey, like the dog already confirmed, right? 40% of shoppers check an item's order status at least once a day. This is how anxious they are when it comes. If it's a high-value item, or let's say a big volume, a big item, they want to be at home. They want to guarantee they are at the door when this parcel comes, and there are no involuntary returns, as Petra already mentioned. 93% of shoppers expect to receive proactive shipment and delivery updates. They, just as well as they're sitting by the window, they're going to sit at their inbox and they're waiting for their emails about notifications of where their order is. So they simply expect that. There's also an opportunity in this, because from all these expectations, you are able to get 4.6 contact points per parcel. So whenever your customer is ordering something, you have 4.6 times the chance to build a relationship with them, to get their loyalty in, and to engage with them. So let's look at how happy customers are with their peak season delivery experience. 60% of consumers rate the post-purchase experience generally as underwhelming. So as much as we want to, and as much as we're spending on all that, obviously there's still a little bit of a gap there. 83% of consumers are disappointed with services from retailers and e-commerce sites that they use. And 56% of consumers think that brands do not care about their experience after checkout. And if they're not happy, 92% of buyers say that they stop buying from a merchant after a bad purchasing experience. As doomsday sound, this sounds like, there is an opportunity in this to just make it better. And if your competitors are not able to make your customers happy, maybe you can, so you can get some market share back there. So this is why I'm here today. I'm going to tell you the 6 steps to build a delivery experience that yields customer lifetime value and saves costs. Because we all know that this journey that I've painted there is not that streamlined. It's not that simple. So these are the 6 steps that I'm going to lead you through today. Let's dive right in. Step number 1. I think one of the most important things is to not lose your customers to carrier websites. So once they have ordered, make sure they're not going to the DHL page to track their parcel, right? They're sitting there like the dog, waiting for their parcel. The dog is going to his computer, looking into their inbox, and he doesn't want to go to the tracking website, they should go to your website. So we have an example here from Emma, and we do have an example from Snox, how they are doing that, because they both know that brands that customize the post-purchase experience, they see a 2 to 3 times higher ROI on those customer acquisition costs, everything that we're spending right now so heavily on. So what they are doing is they're retaining the traffic through order tracking pages on their website, not at DHL, not at FedEx, no, not on any of your carriers' websites. They personalize and brand the entire tracking experience. And once they're doing that, they're driving engagement and upselling. So I do have a best practice for you. If you're investing in that, if you're investing in a tracking widget, a tracking order page, you should pay attention to detail there. You might want to have really powerful features there to leverage that. So you want to track multiple parcels at the same time. You want to make sure there is an updated estimated delivery date. So when the people are coming into that page and looking it up once per day, they get a new estimated delivery date every time they look, something that's updated and fresh. If you've got their engagement, their attention, give them an opportunity to submit a rating for their delivery experience. And if you have that branded widget, you should have an intuitive shipment status updates there in this progress bar, so it's visible at one view. People don't have to like click in somewhere or have to look at all these this data. They will see it at one view, and you can have an overview of the ordered items, so it makes sense to them, because sometimes they order at so many shops they don't even know what they ordered. So if they go back, they're gonna have a look. This is what I ordered. This is what I'm looking forward to receive. Step number 2, delight customers with delivery notifications. Shipping notifications have an open rate of 80% compared to 15 to 20% for regular newsletters. That is huge. And we have 2 examples here, Nespresso and Decathlon, that are doing that right. They are sending out emails with updates every time that is important for the customer. So they proactively inform the customers about the orders. Customers know exactly when something happens with their order. It might be just shipped, it might be delayed, it might be at their doorstep anytime soon, it might have been delivered to their neighbor, they will know about it. They personalize these notifications for brand loyalty, so everything is completely branded, and they use the opportunity to directly upsell through these recommendations. So you're sending out this email, and maybe you are even at this step starting to upsell to this customer. Give them a recommendation for what they might want to purchase next. Here's some best practice. So you saw this process at the beginning, but we all know it's not that streamlined. What you should do is to build a sophisticated notification strategy around that. So when you send out that order, let's go back. So they should have an order confirmation. They should have a shipment confirmation, and out for delivery notification. And when it's delivered, they should get an email, it's successfully delivered. And then they should have the option to rate their experience. If there is a delay, they should also get a notification. They don't want to learn about this days later when they're already frustrated and waiting, right? You want to manage their expectations and send them something straight away. If it's like a big delay, you can already try to make it better for the customer. Send them a voucher or something. You can build that into your strategy as well. When there's a failed attempt, you should also send them a notification. So if the customer is not at home, he at least knows, oh, I missed my parcel. The next day, we will make sure he's at home. If the parcel is going to a collection point, you might want to make sure they exactly know where this is, how long the parcel will be held there. You want to send them collection reminders, and of course, confirm when this is successfully collected, and then route them back to the rating functionality. And of course, returns, Petra already said it's the most painful topic. So around returns, of course, you have to build another big notification flow and make sure customers know what happens to the parcel once they return it to you. And every step of that journey, they will get informed. Pro tip, use the right channels. So use the channels that your customers prefer. You might know that best. Do they want to have emails? Do they want to have SMS? Do they want to have WhatsApp? You should use the right channels. Another pro tip, use the right triggers. So how do you know when to send a notification that the parcel was successfully delivered. So you need to have the right triggers that it's not delivered to the neighbor, but really successfully delivered to the customer. So this is really important. Otherwise, you're sending notifications that don't make sense to your customers, or they don't have the right timing. Step number 3, avoid Vismo and boost checkout conversions. Checkout and conversion can actually increase by 10% when you present an estimated delivery date upon checkout. So here on the left, you see that you can give them a choice, what Petra mentioned earlier before, to different costs, but you also want to give them an updated and predicted delivery date exactly when they check out. And when you're presenting that, it can make all the difference, as Petra mentioned, if they buy with you or if they buy somewhere else. This significantly increases the checkout conversion. And if you're updating this delivery date, along the journey, you give them confidence all the time. So it is like what they have experienced from Amazon before. They will know, okay, my parcel is coming tomorrow. Or if you update them, it's coming earlier, then they will know, okay, I'm going to be home earlier. There is an opportunity to use machine learning enabled date of arrival prediction. For this is what we are doing at Parcel Perform as well. And you would say, okay, nice service for customers. What's in it for me? Well, you would definitely save some costs in terms of involuntary returns. Step number 4, you want to make the customer feel heard. Customer feedback rates can be improved by 20% when you are requesting a rating at the right time. Here you can see a notification on the left-hand side, and with that notification that the order was successfully delivered, this notification will go out exactly at the right time, not when you think they have it, but when they actually have it. Then you can send them a rating request. If you collect this rating at the right time, you can capture the customers when they are happiest, just right after the parcel was successfully delivered. Maybe there have been problems in the delivery journey. That happens, right? We all know it, but you would want to know about it, and you don't want your customer going out and not recommending you to all their friends, or even like just holding a grudge for you. You want them to give them a voice, and you want to fix these problems, right? So give them the opportunity to rate. And with this rating, you can actually layer this data with your logistics data, and then you can go on and go to the carrier and see if you can fix that problem. Is it recurring for the city, for this part of the city, for a certain type of shipment or volume, and so on? This gives you the opportunity to really see what's going on from the customer. And the last point is you want to increase your rating collection rate. So yeah, as I mentioned, it's sometimes hard to get these ratings in, but you want to know what happens with your customer. So if you integrate this rating opportunity with your tracking pages and all of these notifications you're sending via email, via SMS, you get actually a higher rating collection rate. Step number 5. So we spoke a lot about what the customer, everything that revolves around the customer, but you should also have a keen eye on your customer service teams. All right, as Petra mentioned, they are very, very busy during peak season, and they are receiving a lot of WISMO requests. So where is my order requests? You can actually reduce these requests by up to 45%, depending on how many you had before, right? But if you make proactive service your advantage, you can help customer service teams to tackle these calls without putting customers on hold. So your customers will be able to look up in their portal on the platform where the parcel is. You can never really reduce WISMO requests down to 0. There's always customers that are asking, or docs that are waiting so urgently, they really want to know where the parcel is. They're going to call you, and then at least your customer service team is equipped. They can handle these cases super quickly and have a short turnaround time. What also happens if you have delays, you might want to have your customer service teams reaching out, maybe for key customers or for very expensive goods. You might want to let them reach the customer via phone, reach out, talk to them already. Hey, I'm sorry, your parcel will be delayed. So you can make much better use of your customer service teams. And if you build customized workflows and follow-up flows with tags and filters and bookmarks for whichever cases are important for you in this process, you can have a much more efficient workflow for your customer service teams. I do have a customer voice here for you from Snox. So Johannes from Snox, he's a CEO, he said, the best shopping experience doesn't stop at checkout. Very true. So one of the most frequent inquiries we receive is, where is my order? That's why I've been working with Parcel Perform, yeah, that's us, right? To send personalized email for every relevant shipping event and keep the customers always up to date. Upon shipping, we send, hey, your package is on the way. If the package was dropped off at a Packstation, that's like the parcel locker, or a neighbor's house, they say, hey, I'm here, pick me up. They always do it like in a very, very close to the consumer's voice fashion. And after successful delivery, we ask, would you recommend us to your friends? So they drive it one step further. They don't just say, are you happy with the delivery? They say, would you recommend us? Trying to drive some of those acquisition costs home and get recommendations. So this has actually allowed Snox to reduce the Wismo requests down to 2 to 3%. As mentioned, usually cannot reduce them down to zero completely. But 2 to 3% is pretty good if you look at your own customer service tickets. And they were able to collect NPS ratings. The collection rate went up by 20% just because Snox could send out these NPS requests at the exact right time when the customer is happiest. And the last step. So we had customer service teams, but what's with your logistics teams? Of course, they want to save costs. As mentioned, the costs have gone up. Most carriers have raised their prices, and you can actually achieve 10% reduction of last mile logistics costs through a careful and highly analytical carrier selection optimization. So if you make the right carrier partner choices in your peak season volumes, you can save a lot of costs. And if you have all that data on your end, you can analyze this cost. You can evaluate the carrier performance against the SLAs. Sometimes you can even claim some of these costs back because the carriers have not been able to fulfill the SLAs. But usually, as a merchant, you don't have insights into that because you rely on the carrier reports. You can make informed decisions. So with this real-time or near real-time visibility on this logistics data, you can optimize your performance for beyond peak season across all carriers, all the products, all the markets. You can analyze like, where do I have the best trended times? Where do I have the best delivery times for which section of the routing? Cross-border, we all know how complicated this is. And of course, you can manage the increased peak season load and keep your customers' trust by informing them all the way, by being able as a logistics team to go in and see if there is a massive delay. Does it happen to lots of parcels? You can call up your carrier, your logistics partners, and solve that problem proactively instead of letting that escalate and later claim these SLAs. You can go in, be proactive, and try to bring this all to joint success. Another customer voice here is from Nespresso. So Nespresso is one of our customers in many markets. And they say, David Costella says, with the help of Parcel Perform streamlined data in over 36 languages. So we support a lot of their regions and a lot of their markets. And the sophisticated product suite, we're getting near real-time insights into actual carrier service level compliance, which helps us to drive continuous improvement and better rates. So they're doing exactly that. They are analyzing their carriers very carefully, and they are making sure that all their customers are happy. We all know, or most of us, the coffee drinkers, know how excellent their customer experience in terms of the delivery experience is. Yeah, and that is actually the end. This is step 6. So if this was interesting for you, please get in touch with us. Yeah, to join the leading brands that are partnered with us. And now is time for the questions, the Q&A.
Yeah, I think we actually have a question from Zorana. Every peak season is painful when it comes to delivery time. How to make sure the processing of orders and delivery during peak times goes smoothly? Yeah, I think it's a very fair question. And Sabina, I think your last slide actually was already touching upon a lot of those points, right? I think it's a lot about selecting the right carriers, and that you can really only do if you have the right data. Yeah, I don't know, Sabina, if you have any more examples to share. I can only say from our past experience, we already see that, during the last couple of years, we've also collected a lot of data on carrier performance during peak season. And we know that, there are certain times when certain carriers will have a massive amount of parcels, and their service levels will go down. So this is when we then proactively switch the shipments to other carriers, for example. So from my point of view, it's really mostly about data and making informed decisions based on that.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. If you have a good data setup, a good tech setup, if you're able to handle all that data and get insights from it, not just store it somewhere, you'll be able to make informed decisions. On the other hand, smooth. Yeah, we all want to know that everything is running smoothly. We cannot guarantee it, but we can prepare the best as we can. And this just not only means choosing the right carrier partners. As mentioned before, you should also prepare your customer service teams for the increased call volume. Make sure from the start they don't receive so many Gizmo inquiries, and then equip them with the right tools so they're able to reply to these questions very quickly, so that these are not additional costs for you, and the customers go out and are happy. So customer service teams are actually able to help them and not frustrate them any longer. And I think this for me means peak season preparation, right? That you go in prepared and not just hope for the best, but you do everything on all fronts to guarantee a great setup from the start.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of points to cover. So I think this is the one question for now. Of course, feel free to post any more questions in the Q&A section. We'll be super happy to answer them. I think Sabine, maybe one question I have for you, because I'm always wondering, we do these webinars, we try to time them in the right way where it's kind of not too early in the year where people are just like, why are you coming up to me with peak season topics? It's summer, right? But also we don't want to do them too close to peak season when everything, all these preparation topics should already be covered. So what is your point of view in terms of timing? Like, which of these things can the retailer still take care of right now? Maybe especially looking at the post-purchase experience, like what is realistic to still cover until peak season?
Yeah, so peak season is nearly upon us, and as you mentioned, we don't want to go in too late and advise people too late. They will always say, "Oh, nice advice. This all sounds great. I would have loved to know this like 3 months earlier." But then usually what happens is merchants are not ready to tackle this because then they are busy with other stuff. So for us, for Parcel Perform, usually it means if you are fast in your own turnaround, you want to come on board and say, this is exactly what I've been looking for. This is something that I need, that I've been thinking about for a long time already. Our customers are live in under 30 days and can use the solution for all the departments I mentioned. Like the e-commerce team will be able to set up all the notification flows. You'll be able to have a branded tracking page that works straight away. Your customer service teams will have their overview and they can very quickly be trained. It's pretty self-explanatory, and your logistics team has all the insights in under 30 days. So if you come on board now, we are very happy. Just reach out to us, and we can get you on board. But even if you say, okay, no, it's too late for us, and we're already super busy and we don't have the resources to engage, then you might want to think of what do you want to do after peak season to make everything better? Do you want to get the analytics in from your peak season business? Then you should start to get that data in right now. Then also reach out to us. So in any case, please reach out to us. So Petra, on your end, another question. I would say, what do you think in general are the biggest challenges that your customers are facing for the peak season? What do you hear over and over and over again?
Yeah, I think what we see, especially also this year, with all the logistics challenges out there, the supply chains being slow, things being very expensive. I think the big topic is really having kind of an accurate forecast for how much inventory you will need. So kind of preparing for peak season, and I mean the points that I mentioned, right? Like actually making sure that you have the right products, and they're available to be sold. I think that is already quite a big challenge this year. We'd really try to support all our retailers with bringing their products in, right? Kind of planning ahead, really already starting this conversation in summer and asking, you know, what do you expect? Like, how much inventory are you planning to order? But I think it means retailers have to start planning earlier and earlier nowadays, just because of the kind of external challenges out there. And then also the second part is, I think, forecasting of how much you're planning to sell actually. And then kind of having an educated guess, while, you know, sticking to historical data that you've seen in the past, but also keeping in mind, again, the external factors out there that are influencing your customer behavior, which I think are very, very hard to plan for. So I think, and I mean, these are challenges, right? So what can you do about them? I think at the end of the day, the best approach is really to be super transparent, at least with the partners that you have, be it the logistics companies, the fulfillment companies. So the best solution for us, at least in terms of capacity planning, is when the clients are very open and you know, they share, you know, I'm not sure, right? Because the thing is, if you over forecast, that means that the warehouse will be preparing for a huge peak, but then at the end of the day, there will not be as many shipments. And the opposite scenarios where you share a small number and then orders pile up and they cannot be sent on time. So ideally, maximum transparency is the best, right? If you are not sure, that's fine, right? Everybody has kind of things that they cannot account for, but then at least there's kind of having this open discussion about it, I think, is very key, especially this year, from my point of view.
Yeah, absolutely true. So as I'm looking at the time, I think we already took a lot of time from the people that have joined our webinar. In any case, I hope you took away a lot of wisdom and something that will prepare you for peak season. As mentioned, please reach out to me or Petra or to Dana. We have our contact details in the chat, or you can, of course, find us on our websites. And we would be looking forward to have all your conversations, all your questions that you maybe don't want to ask in this forum. You can ask us straight away. And we're always happy to take some time for you to support you in this peak season. And from my side, from Parcel Perform side, thank you very much for joining again. We're very happy to hear from you again. Petra, last words to you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Same from my side. Thanks a lot. Was a really cool discussion, Sabine. Also, thanks to you. And yeah, I hope we could share some additional information that maybe you didn't have in mind for this peak season yet. And yeah, would be very happy if you reach out. As Sabine said, we have our LinkedIn contact details there, or approach us through the website. And anything works for me. So thanks a lot. Have a great Friday, and maybe talk to you soon at one of the next webinars. Bye-bye.
Happy Friday, and talk to you soon. Bye.